Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving headfirst into the world of Indian tech. It's a landscape of absolutely massive opportunity, but, it's also shadowed by some pretty significant risks. We're going to talk about operational cracks, some really high-stakes financial gambles, and a global race for dominance.
So, let's just kick things off with a crucial question. For all the headlines you see about innovation and insane growth, if you look a little closer, some serious cracks are starting to appear in the very foundation of the Indian startup dream.
First up, let's talk about the startups that are really feeling the pressure right now. This ranges from very public, very messy operational failures, all the way to some staggering financial allegations that are making huge waves.
To see the real-world impact of all this pressure, just look at Ola Electric, a brand that basically promised a revolution. Well, in Goa, their trade license actually got suspended after officials pointed to, and I'm quoting here, abysmal after-sales service. We're talking over 2,000 scooters just sitting there, unrepaired, with customers complaining about massive delays and a total lack of basic spare parts. It's kind of the classic story of selling the big dream, but completely failing on the follow-through.
This kind of pressure isn't just happening on the streets with broken-down scooters. It's also playing out in a huge way on balance sheets and in courtrooms. Which brings us to one of the biggest names in Indian edtech, Byju's.
The number at the center of this whole storm is a massive one, $505 million. That's the sum that lenders are claiming was improperly moved from where it was supposed to be.
Okay, so these funds were part of a huge $1.2 billion loan. But here's the catch. The loan wasn't given directly to Byju's Indian parent company. Nope. It went to a US-based subsidiary called Byju's Alpha, which was set up as what's called a special purpose vehicle, or SPV. Companies use these SPVs all the time to kind of wall off financial risk for a specific project or loan.
So here's the alleged money trail, and it's a bit of a wild ride. Lenders claim the money, which was supposed to be for business operations, took a really strange journey. First, from that US-based SPV, a huge chunk was allegedly sent over to a Florida hedge fund. From there, $505 million reportedly went to a logistics company in the UK, and from that company, the funds were then supposedly moved to all these different entities that link back to Byju's affiliates. It's a really complex web that lenders argue was designed to be hard to crack. Now, for their part, Byju's has come out and strongly denied all of this. In an official statement, they've said the allegations are totally false, that the case isn't even directly against them, and that every penny from Byju's Alpha was used for the benefit of the parent company, Think and Learn, in a completely compliant way.
So while some startups are fighting these kinds of battles just to stay afloat, there's a whole other group taking a completely different gamble. They're racing towards the stock market. In this IPO fever, it has become a major trend.
We are seeing this wave of companies. A lot of them are household names you'd recognize from shows like Shark Tank India, and they're all getting ready to go public with an initial public offering, an IPO.
Shaadi.com is just the latest to announce it started its IPO process. They're joining a growing list that already includes big brands like Lenskart and Mama Earth. And get this, even Boat, another huge consumer brand from the show, is reportedly thinking about taking a second shot at going public after backing out the first time. And all of this leads to a really critical question for the whole market. Is this big rush to go public a sign of healthy, maturing businesses that are ready for the big leagues, or is it a high-stakes gamble, with companies just cashing in on brand recognition and giving their early investors a nice exit, potentially creating a bubble for everybody else? This relentless drive for growth is leading us to the next major battleground. See, it's not just about selling products anymore. It's about controlling something that, in the long run, is way more valuable: your data.
A perfect example of what I'm talking about is the recent power shift over at Zomato. After a really long fight with restaurant associations, the company has finally agreed to share customer contact details directly with the restaurants. Now, this is a huge deal. Before, Zomato was the gatekeeper. Now, a restaurant can contact you directly, build a relationship with you, and maybe even offer you a better deal if you order from their own website instead.
And listen, this isn't just about food delivery. This is a much wider trend. We're seeing companies use their customer data to expand into completely new and sometimes, honestly, surprising industries.
I mean, just look at Zepto, the 10-minute delivery app. They just launched something called Zepto Diagnosis for at-home blood tests, using their massive logistics network to get into healthcare. And at the same time, the Indian government itself is planning a huge expansion of the Aadhaar identity system for all kinds of verifications. Everything from getting into a concert to age checks for buying alcohol.
All right, finally, let's zoom out. Let's pull way back from the local Indian scene and look at the global stage, because a full-blown technological arms race is unfolding, and it's all powered by artificial intelligence.
On the hardware side of this race, so the actual physical stuff, one company is just completely dominant: NVIDIA. And their strategy is crystal clear when you look at where their money comes from. See that massive slice? That's their data center business. The powerful chips that are literally the backbone of the entire AI revolution. Gaming, which used to be their whole identity, is now just dwarfed in comparison. And their profitability, it's just staggering. They are operating at a 73% gross margin. What a number like that tells you is just how critical and in demand their AI chips are. They are basically selling the picks and shovels in a new digital gold rush, and they're doing it with incredible efficiency.
But look, hardware is only half the story. On the software and ecosystem side, Google is fighting back, and they are fighting back hard. Their stock recently hit an all-time high, mostly driven by all the excitement around their powerful new AI model, Gemini. This isn't just about one shiny new product. Google is proving it's a leader in building the entire AI ecosystem, from the models underneath to the apps we're all going to be using.
So at the end of the day, this is the dual reality of the tech world right now. On one hand, you have these intense local struggles inside the Indian market over things like profitability and just basic customer service. And on the other hand, you have this explosive global race for technological supremacy in AI.
And that leaves us with a final massive question for this new era we're entering. With AI basically set to rewrite all the rules, who is actually in a better position to build the future? Is it the agile Indian startup that knows its home market inside and out? Or is it the resource-rich global titan with near-limitless cash and data? Something to think about.